Let's discuss how to install NumPy on a system. To install NumPy, you have to go to Anaconda prompt and type in conda install NumPy. I am seeing this message because I have already installed NumPy on my system. Now, let's go to Jupyter and create a Python 3 notebook. You have to import NumPy to be able to use it in your code. You can import NumPy by typing in import NumPy as np. Here, np is arbitrary and can be set to anything. This np is used to access NumPy for short. First, we shall discuss some methods of creating NumPy arrays. The first method is to convert Python structures like lists and tuples into NumPy arrays by using np.array. Here I am creating a list with elements 1, 2 and 3. Then I am converting it into array by typing in np.array and passing in the list into it. This is going to create a NumPy array with the elements 1, 2, 3. Similarly, you can create a tuple with elements 1, 2 and 3. Then you can pass it into np.array. This is going to create an array with elements 1, 2 and 3. The second method to create NumPy arrays is intrinsic NumPy array creation. If you want an array with all the elements equal to 1, then you have to use np.ones and pass in the shape of array which you require. Shape is nothing but the dimension. Here I am passing in 5 by 5. This is going to create a 5 by 5 array with all the elements equal to 1. Similarly, if you want all the elements to be equal to 0, then you have to use np.zeros and pass in the shape of the array which you require. Here I am passing in 3 by 3. This is going to create a 3 by 3 array with all the elements equal to 0. Let's see another example of np.zeros. Here I am typing in np.zeros and passing in the shape 2 by 5. This is going to create a 2 by 5 array and fill it with zeros. Next, we shall discuss np.arrange. np.arrange creates an array with a range of numbers. The parameters to be passed are start, stop and step. You have to note that in np.arrange, the stop value is excluded. In this example, I am going to use np.arrange 10, 50, 5. Let's see another example. np.arrange 20. If you are passing in a single value, it will consider it to be a stop value. So, it will create an array with the numbers between 0 and 20, 20 excluded. np.i creates an array with principal diagonal elements equal to 1 and all the remaining elements equal to 0. To use np.i, you have to pass in the shape of array you want. Here I am typing in np.i 5. This is going to create a 5 by 5 array with all the principal diagonal elements equal to 1. Let's see another example. np.i 2, 5. This is going to create a NumPy array with the shape 2 by 5 and the principal diagonal elements equal to 1. If you want to create an array with linearly spaced elements, then you have to use np.linspace. The parameters to be passed in np.linspace are start, stop and the number of elements you require in that array. You have to note that unlike np.arrange, np.linspace includes the stop value. Here I am passing in np.linspace 5, 10, 2. This is going to create an array with two linearly spaced elements between 5 and 10, which are obviously 5 and 10 themselves. So let's see another example. np.linspace 10, 50, 10. This is going to create 10 linearly spaced elements between 10 and 50. The third method of creation NumPy arrays is using special library functions. First, let's discuss np.random.seed. When you are requesting a random number, the computer runs an algorithm from a seed. So, if you are setting this seed to a same number on two different computers, then it is going to return the same random value. To set the random seed, simply type in np.random.seed. In brackets, you type in the number which you want. Here in this example, I am using np.random.seed of 42. If you want to create an array with random samples from the uniform distribution over closed 0 to open 1, then you have to use np.random.rand and pass in the shape of array which you want. In this example, I am using np.random.rand 3, 3. If you want to create an array which has samples from the standard normal distribution, then you have to use np.random.randn. If you want to create an array with random integers, then you have to type in np.random.randint and pass in the parameters start, stop and number of elements you require in your array. Arrays can also be read from a disk, either from standard or custom formats. Also, arrays can be created from raw bytes through the use of strings or buffers. But right now we are not going to discuss that. Now let's discuss the shape manipulation of NumPy arrays. First, I'll create an array with 20 random numbers between 10 and 50. Now when I check the array, I get to see a square bracket. The dimension of the array is equal to the number of square brackets either in the start or at the end of the array. You can check the shape of the array by typing in array.shape. You can see that it returns 20. It means it's a 1D array. You can reshape the array by typing in array.reshape and passing in the dimension which you want. Now I have reshaped this array into 10 by 2. Now you can see that there are 2 square brackets in the start and 2 square brackets in the end. As I have told, the number of square brackets is equal to the dimension of the array. Since there are 2 square brackets, it is a 2D array, which you can also see from the dimensions 10 by 2. It gives 2D array. The array can be reshaped into any shape you like, but it has to be noted that the product of the reshaped dimensions should be equal to the number of elements in the array. Here you can see 3 square brackets. It means that this array is 3 dimensional. We can also see that from 5, 2, 2, which is again a 3 dimensional array. Now I'll reshape this back into 20, 1. And you have to note that unlike 20, 1 is a 2 dimensional array. You can see 2 square brackets. While reshaping, you can use -1 to get the number which actually fits the array. Since there are 20 elements in the array, I can use -1 along with 5 to get 4 in that place. From here you can see that the array turns out with the shape of 4, 5. So the -1 is replaced with 4. It has to be noted that reshape does not change the dimensions of the original array. It just creates a new instance with that shape. Now let me check the shape of the array. Array.shape returns 20 again. This means that the shape of the original array has not been changed. To change the shape of the original array, instead of reshape, you have to use resize and pass in the dimensions which you want. I have passed in 5, 4, which returns an array with 5, 4. The original array has been changed. Now let's discuss some array attributes and methods. Since we have already stored our original array at ARR, we will be using that. If you want the maximum value out of the array, then you have to type array.max. Similarly, if you want the minimum value of the array, then you have to type arr.min. To get the standard deviation, you can type arr.std. To get the position of the maximum number in the array, you have to use arr.argmax. This returns the position of the maximum element. Similarly, argmin returns the position of the minimum element. To check the length of the array, you can use length of arr, len-arr. If you check the length of the array, it returns 5 because the actual array is 2D and inside the first dimension there are 5 1D arrays. So the length of the array is 5. To know the dimensions of an array, you have to use array.ndim. As I have already told, you can get the dimensions by seeing the square brackets. To know the data type of the elements which are in the array, you have to use array.dtype. Since there are integers, it returns int. To copy an array, you have to use array.copy. Here I have created arr_cp, which is a copy of the array. You can sort the array by using array.sort. You can see that each row has been sorted. To sort it along the columns, you have to type array.sort access is equal to 1. Now if you check the array, it will be sorted along the columns. To append some elements into the array, you have to use np.append. The parameters which it takes is the array name and the elements which you want to append. You can see that 1, 2, 3, 4 have been appended to the original array. To find the arithmetic mean of the array, you can use np.mean. To find the median, you can use np.median. You can find out the standard deviation of the array by using np.std. Also, you can find out the Pearson's coefficient of correlation using np.corcoef. Now, let's discuss about array indexing and slicing. First, we'll talk about one-dimensional arrays. First, let me create an array with 10 random samples between 1 and 100. The indexing and slicing of an array is same as that of a Python list. It starts at 0. If I want to pick 93 from this array, I have to use array of 4. At index position 4, we have 93. To pick a slice of the array, I have to pass in the start value and the stop value. You have to note that in slicing, the stop value is excluded. So if I want to take the slice from 4 till 64, then I have to type in 2:6, 2 being the start value and 6 being the stop value. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is excluded. The remaining value from 0 till 6. To get the values from the start, you have to leave an empty space in the start value. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is excluded, so you'll get from start till 93. Similarly, to get the values till end, you have to leave the stop value empty. You can also specify a step value. I have left the start and stop value empty. That means the whole array will be selected with a step value of 2. You can see the jumping from one number to another number. This is the step value of 2. Next, we'll discuss broadcasting. This is our original array. Now I pick a slice from 2 till 6 and I assigned it 1. Now if you check the original array, the values from 2 till 6 are assigned as 1. This is called as broadcasting. This is a special feature in array which allows us to reassign large number of values. Now I'll create a new variable, array slice, which will have the slice of the array from start till index position 4. Now if I check array slice, it will have the elements 6, 54, 1, 1. Now if I assign it as 100, then all the elements in array slice will be reassigned to 100. If you check the original array, even in the original array, the elements from 0 till 4 will be again assigned to 100. This indicates that even if you create a new variable and do broadcasting on it, the original array will be affected. To avoid this thing, we can use a copy of the array. Let me create the original array again. Now I'll create a copy of the array. Now if I do broadcasting on the copy, it won't affect the original array. I am assigning the elements of the copied array from start till 5th position 10. Now if I check the array copy, it will have 10s. whereas if I check the original array, it will be unchanged. Okay, now let's discuss about the indexing and slicing of 2D arrays. First, I'll create an array with 16 random samples between 1 and 100. I'll reshape it to 4 by 4 so that I'll have a 2D array. Now if I want to pick the row containing 60, 41, 29, 15, then I have to pass in ARR2 because if you see the index position, it is 0, 1, 2. Similarly, if I pass in ARR0, then I'll get the first row. If you want to select a column, you have to completely select all the rows, that is, keep a semicolon and leave it empty, keep a comma and then enter the column number which you want to select. To select the column with the elements 80, 26, 29, 89, I'll enter 2 because it is in the second indexing position. Similarly, you can use the combination of row selections and column selections to select the part which you want. Now let's discuss conditional selection. First, let us take a look at our original array. Now, if I use the conditional statement greater than, that is ARR greater than 50, that will return a boolean array which contains the truth values whether an element is greater than 50 or not. I'll store this boolean array in the variable ARR underscore bool. Now I can use conditional selection to get the values which are true by using ARR in brackets ARR bool. Now I'll get the values which are only greater than 50. To simplify this, you can do it as ARR brackets ARR greater than 50. It will return the same output. Let's see one more example. This time we'll do ARR brackets ARR mod 2 is equal to 0. That is, it will return all the array elements which are even. Now let's discuss NumPy operations. First, I'll create an array and intentionally include 0 in it. I'll tell you why in a moment. Now you can do some basic arithmetic operations between this array and a scalar. For example, array plus 10, array minus 10, array multiplied with 10, array divided by 10. That is, for ARR divided by 10, each element of the array is being divided by 10. ARR plus 10 means that 10 has been added to each element. We can even find the modulo of each element of the array. Now, I divided the array with 0. Instead of showing error, it shows infinity. Whereas 0 by 0 is given as nan. This is why I have included 0. We can also find the inverse of each element of the array by typing 1 by ARR. We can also raise each element of the array to some power. For example, here I have squared each element of the array. You can perform arithmetic operations on two arrays only if their lengths are equal. That is, you can add the arrays, you can subtract those arrays, you can multiply, you can divide, you can do any basic arithmetic operation. You can use np.sqrt of array to get the square root of each element of the array. You can use np.sign of array to find the sign value of each element in the array. Similarly, you can find out the cosine value of each element of the array. You can find the exponential value of each element of the array by typing in np.exp of array. Similarly, you can find out the logarithmic value of each element of the array by typing np.log of array. With this, I would like to conclude the discussion on NumPy. I hope that I have mentioned each and every important command of NumPy which is useful in data science. I'll also give the links to NumPy notebook, NumPy exercises notebook and solutions in the description. Don't forget to check it out. I have given 25 questions in NumPy. You may try them, and if you are getting stuck at some question, you may check the solutions. And if you have any questions, you may post it in the comment section. Thank you.